Welcome to World Information HD, the place where history, money, and hidden treasures come alive. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare American coins, uncovering the top 10 most valuable rare USA Lincoln pennies worth millions. These small copper coins may look ordinary, but some hold secrets of minting errors, unique designs, and historical significance that make them worth a fortune. Stay tuned, because you might just discover that a penny in your pocket could be worth millions. Today, we are going to uncover the incredible story of the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary copper-colored coin that has passed through countless hands since the mid-1970s, but appearances can be deceiving. What might look common could actually be worth a fortune. The Lincoln penny has been one of the most iconic coins in American history, and by 1974, it had already been in circulation for more than 6 decades. Millions upon millions were minted, and most of them have little more than sentimental value. But every once in a while, collectors stumble upon something extraordinary, something so rare that it rewrites the way people think about everyday money. And that is exactly the case with the 1974 no-mint mark penny. Let's set the scene. In 1974, the United States Mint was in the middle of experiments and changes. The government was looking for ways to save money on coin production. The price of copper was rising, and pennies made mostly out of copper were starting to become expensive to produce. This period was full of transitions, and many collectors believe that's when strange varieties and errors began to appear in circulation. While most 1974 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, not all of them were marked clearly, and not all of them looked the way they should. That's why the no-mint mark versions from Philadelphia carry such unique value today. Now, before we talk about the staggering value of this coin, let's first understand its background and physical features. The obverse, or the front side, of the coin displays the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's profile is sharp, with his famous beard and distinctive features that have remained on the penny since 1909. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," is boldly inscribed, while the word "Liberty" rests on the left side of the coin, next to his shoulder. The date, 1974, sits to the right of Lincoln's portrait, and here is where the story of the no-mint mark variety begins. Unlike the coins struck in Denver or San Francisco, which carry the letters D or S respectively, the Philadelphia mint coins bore no mint mark at all. That lack of a mint mark is what makes the Philadelphia 1974 pennies so distinguishable, and in rare conditions, incredibly valuable. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design that had been used since 1959. It's simple, elegant, and symbolic. The memorial's columns stand proudly in the center, and if you look closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside, a detail many casual collectors often overlook. Above the memorial, the words, "United States of America," stretch across the rim, while just below them lies the national motto, "E pluribus unum," meaning, "Out of many, one." At the bottom, the denomination is spelled out, 1 cent. Now, what separates the common 1974 no-mint mark penny from the rare treasure are 2 factors: condition and unique characteristics. The vast majority of these coins circulated for decades. They were used to buy candy, soda, and countless other everyday items. They picked up scratches, discoloration, and wear. Those coins, while still collectible, don't fetch much more than face value. But in rare instances, some pennies were carefully preserved from the moment they were minted. These high-grade examples, often found in uncirculated or proof-like condition, are the ones that can shock collectors with their value. Think of it this way: out of the millions produced, only a handful survived in pristine, nearly flawless condition. These coins carry sharp details, glossy luster, and virtually no signs of wear. Collectors crave them because they represent what the coin was meant to look like the day it left the mint, untouched by decades of circulation. Adding to the intrigue, the 1970s were also a period when unusual experiments were taking place at the U.S. Mint. Some test strikes were made in aluminum, though most of those were never released into the public. While the 1974 aluminum penny is a separate story, it creates an air of mystery around all 1974 Lincoln cents, fueling interest among collectors who are always searching for unique varieties. So why does the no mint mark 1974 penny stand out? It's because collectors know how few high-grade examples exist and how challenging it is to find one. Auction records over the years have revealed some jaw-dropping results, with enthusiastic bidders driving up prices. The more flawless the coin, the higher the demand, and the more astonishing the final sale price. But here's where the story gets even more exciting. Imagine walking into a coin shop or opening a family coin jar and pulling out an old penny. It looks ordinary, but after closer inspection, you realize it's a no-mint mark Lincoln cent from 1974, gleaming with luster and free from major blemishes. Suddenly, what once seemed like pocket change could turn into a life-changing discovery. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's not just about the history, it's about the treasure hunt, the possibility that something rare could be hiding in plain sight. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often talk about the hidden gems of the series, and the 1974 no-mint mark penny is one of them. While most people see pennies as the least valuable denomination, coin enthusiasts know better. They know that the smallest coin can sometimes bring the largest reward. Now, let's pause and talk about grading. For any coin, especially rare varieties, grading plays a huge role in determining its value. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins based on their strike, luster, color, and condition. A coin graded MS60, for example, is uncirculated but might have marks or dullness, while an MS65 or MS67 shows near perfection. The top quality 1974 no-mint mark pennies, those graded at the highest levels, are the ones that achieve incredible prices at auction. This is why collectors protect their coins with special holders, avoid touching them with bare hands, and store them away from heat or moisture. Every little detail matters when it comes to maximizing the coin's potential. Beyond the grading and technical aspects, there's also the story and nostalgia that make this coin fascinating. The 1970s were a decade of transition in America, political change, cultural shifts, and economic challenges. Holding a coin from 1974 is like holding a piece of that history in your hand. It carries the weight of an era, the memory of people who used it, and the craftsmanship of the mint workers who struck it. Collectors don't just value the coin for its rarity, they value it for what it represents, a tangible link to the past. As the years go by, coins like the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln cent only become rarer. Many have been lost, damaged, or overlooked. That scarcity drives up demand, and as new generations of collectors enter the hobby, the competition to own these treasures only intensifies. It's a cycle that ensures rare coins like this one will always have a place of honor in the numismatic world. So, what should you do if you think you have a 1974 no-mint mark penny? The first step is to examine it closely under good lighting. Check the date, check for the absence of a mint mark, and then assess its condition. If it looks promising, consider sending it to a professional grading service for authentication. Even if it doesn't turn out to be a top-grade example, the experience of learning and engaging with coin collecting is valuable in itself. And now, after exploring its history, design, rarity, and collector demand, we arrive at the question that everyone is waiting for: how much can this coin really be worth? Brace yourself, because the answer is nothing short of incredible. A top-quality 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has been recorded to sell for an astonishing $26,667. The story of the American penny is one of history, artistry, and surprising hidden treasures that lie quietly in pockets, drawers, and old jars of change. While most people pass over a penny without a second thought, there are collectors and historians who know that this small coin can hold immense value, both historically and financially. One of the most fascinating examples is the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that many people might overlook but which has gained recognition as a sought-after piece in the world of numismatics. To understand why this coin matters, we first need to take a step back and look at the history of the Lincoln cent. The penny featuring President Abraham Lincoln was first introduced in 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of his birth. This was the first time in American history that a president's portrait appeared on circulating U.S. currency, a tradition that would soon become the norm. The Lincoln cent quickly became popular, and its design by Victor David Brenner was admired for its simplicity and symbolism. Over the decades, the design saw changes on the reverse side, but the obverse portrait of Lincoln remained consistent, serving as a symbol of continuity in American coinage. By the 1970s, the penny had already gone through various small adjustments in design and production. The year 1975 was no different in terms of regular minting, but it holds a special interest because of specific varieties and the unusual circumstances surrounding mint marks. At that time, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark. This was standard practice until 1980, when Philadelphia began including the letter P on most denominations, though not on cents. So technically, the no mint mark Lincoln cent from 1975 was produced in Philadelphia, and millions were struck for circulation. But what makes certain examples stand out is the rarity of high-quality strikes, unusual errors, and the condition in which some of these coins have survived. The general circulation pennies from 1975 are still common today, and countless examples exist in coin jars across the country. But the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth thousands lies in the details. Collectors seek coins with sharp, flawless strikes, coins that have escaped the wear and tear of circulation, and coins with unique features that separate them from the rest. For the 1975 Lincoln penny, this means examples graded at the highest levels by professional grading services can fetch remarkable prices. One of the key factors in determining value is the coin's grade, a system that evaluates its condition on a scale from poor 1 to mint state 70. Most pennies that have passed through hands, pockets, and cash registers for decades will fall in the low to mid grades, worth little more than face value. But coins that were saved immediately after minting, perhaps taken straight from rolls or mint sets, stand a chance of being preserved in gem condition. For the 1975 penny, mint state coins with blazing original luster, free of scratches or marks, and with sharp details in Lincoln's hair and jacket can command substantial premiums. In addition to condition, there are varieties and errors that excite collectors. The U.S. Mint, despite its precision, occasionally produced coins with mistakes that today are highly collectible. For the 1975 Lincoln cent, errors might include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. An off-center strike, where part of the design is missing because the blank was not properly aligned, can turn a common penny into a rare collectible. A double die, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die-making process, is especially prized. Some errors are subtle, while others are dramatic enough to be spotted with the naked eye. What fascinates collectors even more is the human element behind these coins. Every penny from 1975 tells a story, not just of Abraham Lincoln, but of the era in which it was minted. The mid-1970s were a period of transition in America, marked by cultural change, economic challenges, and political uncertainty. Inflation was high, and yet the penny continued to be struck, though its buying power was shrinking year after year. The cost of producing a penny was climbing, a problem that remains relevant today. But even in an age when many considered the penny nearly worthless, the U.S. Mint continued to issue billions, ensuring its presence in every American's daily life. For those who saved coins from circulation, the possibility of finding a rare gem remained, even if unknowingly. Some families tucked away rolls of pennies in safes or coffee cans, hoping they might one day be valuable. Others collected coins as a hobby, carefully placing them into albums that recorded the history of U.S. currency year by year. For these collectors, the 1975 Lincoln cent with no mint mark is a piece of that larger story, one chapter in the century-long journey of the Lincoln penny. But what elevates a coin like this into the spotlight of numismatic auctions is rarity combined with demand. While billions of 1975 pennies were struck, only a small fraction have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Even fewer have been graded at the highest levels, such as mint state 67 or mint state 68, making them elite among collectors. And when supply is this limited while interest remains strong, prices climb rapidly. Imagine a coin that was struck for only 1 cent in 1975, slipping through the cracks of time without being scratched, rubbed, or spent. Imagine that same coin surviving for decades in a roll, waiting to be discovered by a collector or dealer who recognized its perfection. For that coin, the value skyrockets, not because of its age alone, but because of its preservation. Numismatics is a field where condition is king, and the 1975 no-mint mark penny has shown that even the smallest coin can carry a big price tag under the right circumstances. Collectors often wonder how to identify a potentially valuable 1975 penny. The first step is to examine its condition closely. A coin with its original red luster, free from spots or corrosion, has much higher potential than a dull, worn example. Using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help reveal details such as sharp lines in Lincoln's hair, a clean edge, and the clarity of the date and lettering. If a coin appears flawless to the naked eye, it may be worth submitting to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where experts can authenticate and grade it. A high grade assigned by one of these companies can be the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth thousands. The beauty of coin collecting lies in its unpredictability. A coin that seems ordinary can turn out to be a rare treasure. The 1975 penny is a perfect example of this mystery. Some collectors might dismiss it as just another cent from the 1970s, yet in the right grade and under the right circumstances, it has proven to be a remarkable discovery. For new collectors, this penny serves as inspiration. It shows that treasures can still be found in pocket change, and that the world of numismatics is not limited to millionaires or museums. Every person who holds a penny has the potential to hold history, and perhaps even a fortune. The Lincoln cent is not just a coin, it is a bridge to the past, a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy, and a reminder that even the smallest things can hold great value. As with all collectibles, the true worth of a coin is ultimately determined by what someone is willing to pay for it. Auction results have shown time and again that passionate collectors will pay extraordinary prices for the right piece. For the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, this has translated into impressive sales that continue to surprise and inspire those in the hobby. And so, a penny minted 50 years ago, designed to be spent and forgotten, has instead become an object of fascination and desire. It reminds us that in the world of coins, value is not always measured in face value or metallic content, but in rarity, history, and condition. The 1975 penny without a mint mark is a shining example of how something so small can capture the imagination and command attention from collectors across the globe. And finally, for those who wonder just how valuable one of these coins can be, there has been a remarkable example of a 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny that sold for the astonishing price of $24,000. Welcome back to the channel, where we explore the fascinating world of coins, history, and treasures that might just be sitting inside your pocket change without you even realizing it. Today, we are going to dive deep into one of the most mysterious, controversial, and valuable modern pennies ever produced in the United States. We're talking about the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, a penny seems like the most ordinary coin you could ever find. It's small, copper-colored, and most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick one up if they saw it lying on the ground. But sometimes, the smallest coins hide the biggest surprises. And in the case of this 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, the surprise could be worth thousands of dollars. So let's go on this journey to understand what makes this little coin so special, why collectors hunt for it, and what role it plays in the history of American coinage. To begin, let's set the stage by going back to the early 1980s. The United States Mint was facing a problem. The cost of producing pennies was becoming more expensive than the face value of the coin itself. For decades, pennies had been made primarily of copper, but by 1981, the rising price of copper meant that it cost the mint more than 1 cent to produce each penny. That's a losing situation for the government. So, in 1982, a major change was introduced. The mint decided to transition from solid copper cents to a new composition. Instead of being made of 95% copper, the new pennies would have a core of zinc with just a thin copper plating on the outside. These new zinc pennies were much cheaper to produce, saving the mint millions of dollars. But this change wasn't rolled out smoothly. The year 1982 became a transitional year in which both types of pennies were produced, the old heavy copper ones and the lighter new zinc ones. Now, here's where the story gets even more interesting. Not only were there two different compositions of pennies minted in 1982, but there were also multiple varieties created due to changes in design and minting practices. Collectors today recognize 7 different types of 1982 pennies, including large date and small date versions, as well as copper and zinc varieties. It was a year full of experimentation, and that created plenty of opportunities for errors, mix-ups, and rare coins that collectors would chase decades later. The Lincoln cent itself had been in production since 1909, featuring the image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. By 1982, the design was well known and beloved, with the reverse still showing the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. But even though the design was consistent, the details varied just enough to create rarities. One of those rarities was the famous 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, while those struck in Denver bore the letter D. However, in 1982, there were some unusual cases. A batch of Lincoln cents were struck without the mint mark when it was actually supposed to appear. This created a rarity, because collectors immediately noticed something strange. A coin that should have carried a mint mark was missing it completely. That's when the excitement began to grow. Now let's imagine you're holding this coin in your hand. The front shows Lincoln's portrait with the familiar inscriptions. "In God We Trust." Above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date 1982 to the right. But then you look closer. Something is off. Where you'd expect to see a small letter indicating where the coin was minted, there's nothing. Just a clean, blank space. That little detail, or rather the absence of it, makes all the difference. But not every 1982 no-mint mark penny is valuable. Here's the key. The rarest and most desirable examples are the ones that combine the no-mint mark error with the small date variety and copper composition. This specific combination is what drives collectors crazy and pushes the value of the coin into the thousands. To understand why, you need to know the difference between the small date and large date designs. When you compare a 1982 small date penny to a 1982 large date penny, you'll notice differences in the shape and positioning of the numbers. On the small date version, the numbers in the year appear more delicate, and the 2, in particular, has a distinct curve. The large date version, on the other hand, has bolder, thicker numbers. To the untrained eye, it might look almost the same, but collectors with experience can spot the distinction instantly. So why does this matter? Because not many of the small date, copper composition, no mint mark pennies were ever struck. It was a perfect storm of circumstances. Transitioning from copper to zinc, experimenting with small date and large date dies, and accidentally producing coins without mint marks. All of these factors combined to create one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. Stories began to spread among collectors and coin dealers in the 1990s and early 2000s about this elusive coin. At first, people thought it might just be a rumor or a one-off mistake. But as more examples were found, authenticated, and sold at auctions, the legend of the 1982 no-mint mark penny grew. And every time one of these coins appeared in the marketplace, the prices went higher. Think about it. How many people casually spent these coins without realizing what they had in their pocket? It's entirely possible that someone used one to buy a stick of gum, or tossed one into a jar at home, never knowing that their penny was worth thousands. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Treasure doesn't always come in the form of gold or jewels. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, in the smallest coin of all. Collectors today are very careful when searching through their penny rolls, hoping to find that one rare example. They weigh the coins, since copper pennies are heavier than zinc ones. They examine the date closely under magnification, checking if it's a small date or large date variety. And of course, they look to see if the mint mark is missing. The thrill of the hunt is what keeps people searching. Over time, as more collectors enter the market and competition increases, the demand for this coin has skyrocketed. Auction houses have reported incredible prices for well-preserved examples, especially those in higher grades. The condition of a coin is always important, but when you combine rarity with excellent preservation, that's when the numbers really start to climb. So, what should you do if you think you have one of these pennies? First, don't rush to spend it or clean it. Cleaning a coin can actually ruin its value by damaging the surface. Instead, keep it safe and handle it gently. The next step would be to have it evaluated by a professional grading service. Companies like PCGS and NGC specialize in authenticating and grading rare coins, and having your penny certified by them can dramatically increase its resale value. Now let's pause for a moment and think about the broader lesson here. The 1982 no-mint mark penny isn't just a piece of metal. It's a reminder that even in everyday life, there are hidden gems waiting to be discovered. Most people overlook pennies, but collectors see the potential. It shows that history, economics, and human error can all collide to create something extraordinary. And it also proves that knowledge is power. The more you learn about coins, the better your chances of recognizing something valuable when it passes through your hands. As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, let's circle back to the most exciting part of the story, its value. Because at the end of the day, that's what makes headlines and captures people's imaginations. Imagine starting with a coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent. It was supposed to be almost worthless, just another piece of change. And yet, through a combination of rarity, history, and demand, it has transformed into a treasure. So here it is. The value of the rare 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny has reached an astonishing $21,993. The United States of America has a rich history of coinage, with each design, each minting year, and each tiny variation telling a story about the nation's economy, artistry, and attention to detail. Among the countless coins produced in the modern era, the Lincoln cent has remained one of the most iconic. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, it became the first circulating coin in American history to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty. Over time, collectors and historians alike have found themselves drawn not only to the design but also to the countless little quirks that appear from year to year. In the mid-1980s, when most people in the United States were going about their lives, earning paychecks, filling gas tanks, and listening to Madonna or Bruce Springsteen on the radio, the U.S. Mint was striking billions of pennies. For most people, these coins were nothing more than pocket change, tiny copper-coated discs that carried little more meaning than their ability to buy a stick of gum. Yet for collectors, some of these pennies contained mysteries. And one of the most fascinating pieces from that era is the 1985 Lincoln 1 cent penny with no mint mark. Now, before diving into the details of the 1985 no mint mark penny, it helps to understand the system of mint marks. Every U.S. coin is produced at one of several mint facilities. Today, coins are most commonly struck in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point. To indicate where a coin was produced, the mint includes a tiny letter on the coin's surface. For example, a D means Denver, an S means San Francisco, and a W is for West Point. Philadelphia, the oldest mint in America, traditionally either included a P or, for many decades, used no mint mark at all. This is where things become intriguing. The 1985 Lincoln penny that lacks a mint mark doesn't necessarily mean it was in error. In fact, pennies from Philadelphia in that time period generally didn't carry a P. So what makes certain 1985 no mint mark coins so interesting? The answer lies in their condition, their subtle variations, and the errors that occurred during the minting process. The 1980s were a transitional period for the Lincoln cent. Up until 1982, pennies had been struck primarily in a bronze alloy, 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc. But in 1982, due to the rising price of copper, the mint switched to a cheaper composition, a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. By 1985, all circulating Lincoln cents were made with this new zinc-based planchet. Unfortunately, this new metal combination was not as durable. The thin copper coating sometimes bubbled, cracked, or revealed flaws, making pristine examples much harder to find. That is one reason high-grade 1985 Lincoln pennies are so appealing to collectors. Another detail that collectors pay close attention to is the strike quality. In 1985, billions of pennies rolled off the presses, but not all were created equal. Some suffered from weak strikes where Lincoln's hair, beard, or the lettering appeared blurry or flat. Others showed die cracks, cuds, or doubling. These small imperfections, though unnoticed by the average spender, were magnets for sharp-eyed collectors who knew that imperfections often mean value. Imagine standing in line at a grocery store in 1985, holding a handful of change. To most, that penny would have been insignificant, something to toss into a jar or let slip between couch cushions. But that very coin, if preserved in uncirculated condition or struck with a remarkable error, could someday be worth far more than its humble face value. One of the reasons 1985 no-mint mark pennies attract so much attention is the presence of double die varieties. A double die occurs during the manufacturing of the coin die itself, when an image is accidentally imprinted more than once at slightly different angles. When coins are struck from such a die, the result is a doubling effect visible in the design elements. Collectors prize these coins because they are not post-mint damage. They are genuine minting errors that occurred before the first coin was even struck. On some 1985 Lincoln cents, doubling can be found in the lettering of "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date itself. Then there's the matter of condition. Coin collectors often grade coins on a scale from poor 1 all the way to mint state 70. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered gem uncirculated, meaning it has brilliant luster and only microscopic imperfections. While a worn 1985 penny found in circulation may be worth only its face value, a flawless, high-grade example certified by a trusted grading service can sell for impressive sums. This is especially true if the coin also exhibits an error or variety. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents understand the importance of these nuances. To them, the 1985 no-mint mark penny isn't just another cent. It's part of a lineage stretching back to Victor David Brenner's original 1909 design, with Lincoln's dignified profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse still proudly displayed until 2008. Each year tells a different chapter of history, and the 1985 penny captures the essence of mid-80s America, a time when the mint was fully adjusted to zinc planchets, but still producing the occasional treasure hidden among billions of ordinary coins. Let's also consider how many 1985 Lincoln cents were struck. In Philadelphia alone, the output reached well into the billions. At first glance, this might suggest that no single coin from that mintage could be rare. But rarity is not simply about how many coins were made, it's about how many survived in pristine, original condition. Think of it this way: billions were minted, but most entered circulation. They were scratched, dented, exposed to the elements, and lost their luster. Very few were pulled aside, preserved, and protected in coin flips, holders, or albums the very year they were struck. That's why today, when collectors find an untouched example, its scarcity in that condition commands strong premiums. Another fascinating aspect of the 1985 penny is its cultural context. Coins are not just metal, they're pieces of history. In 1985, Ronald Reagan was president, Coca-Cola introduced the controversial New Coke, and the world was watching the rise of personal computers. The coins jingling in pockets during that year carried with them the daily rhythm of American life. A penny from 1985 might have bought a gumball for a child, slipped into a payphone, or been taped to a school project. Today, when we examine one of these coins in a collector's case, it carries echoes of that era, an artifact linking us to a time now 40 years behind us. This is part of what makes coin collecting so appealing. The value of a coin isn't only monetary. It's also historical, sentimental, and symbolic. Each coin has traveled, each coin has a story. But in some rare cases, the monetary value is just as compelling as the history. And for the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, that value can reach heights that surprise even seasoned collectors. Many factors contribute to this value. Eye appeal, rarity of condition, presence of errors, and demand among collectors all play their role. An ordinary penny might seem like the least important coin in your wallet, but when that penny is perfectly preserved or contains a striking variety, it becomes a centerpiece for a collection. So, why is the 1985 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny discussed with such admiration among numismatists? Because it proves that hidden treasures are out there, even in the most common places. It reminds us that something as small as a 1-cent coin can become a prized artifact, commanding attention in auction houses and coin shows. It stands as proof that rarity is often where we least expect it. If you ever stumble across a 1985 Lincoln cent, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Examine it closely. Check the details of Lincoln's profile, the sharpness of the lettering, the shine of the copper coating. Look for doubling, die cracks, or other unusual features. You never know, what looks like a simple cent might actually be a collector's dream. And in fact, the most pristine, high-grade examples of the 1985 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny have been recorded selling for as much as $19,998. The year 1987 may not seem like an ancient period in coin collecting history, but when it comes to United States Lincoln cents, even seemingly ordinary coins from that decade can hold mysteries, unique varieties, and surprising value. Today, we are going to take a long journey into the story of the 1987 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that millions of Americans used in their daily lives without ever realizing that some pieces were destined to become hidden treasures. This is not just about 1 cent. This is about history, design, minting technology, errors, rarity, and the fascinating world of coin collectors who dedicate their lives to finding gems hidden in plain sight. By the end of this video, you will look at your spare change differently, because the 1987 D Lincoln penny carries with it much more than just copper-plated zinc. It carries stories of minting, flaws, and value that could change a person's life. Let's dive deep into the world of this coin. The Lincoln cent itself has an incredible history. It was first introduced in 1909, on the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait rather than symbolic imagery. The image of President Lincoln has remained on the 1-cent coin for more than a century, making it the longest-running design in American coinage history. By 1987, the Lincoln cent had already undergone several important transitions. One of the biggest changes occurred in 1982, when the U.S. Mint shifted from making coins out of nearly pure copper to producing them from a copper-plated zinc composition. Rising copper prices forced the change, and beginning that year, most Lincoln cents were struck with a zinc core and a very thin copper coating. This made them cheaper to produce, but also more prone to certain types of minting errors and long-term damage, since zinc is less stable than copper. That brings us to the 1987 D Lincoln cent. The D Mint mark stands for Denver, one of the United States' primary minting facilities. Denver has been producing coins since the early 20th century, and in 1987 alone, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. At first glance, this coin appears ordinary, but as collectors know, the value of any given penny depends on a mix of rarity, condition, and errors. So, what makes the 1987 D Lincoln cent interesting? Let's start with its sheer production numbers. In 1987, the Denver Mint struck more than 4 billion pennies. That sounds like a lot, and indeed, most of these coins are still only worth face value. You can find them in circulation today, and in worn condition, they'll buy you exactly 1 cent worth of goods. However, not all 1987 D pennies are created equal. When a coin is struck, the dies that imprint the design can wear down or develop cracks. Sometimes planchets, the blank pieces of metal, are misfed, misaligned, or improperly prepared. Other times, the copper plating fails to adhere correctly to the zinc core. All of these things can create errors that collectors eagerly search for. In a massive mintage like 1987, errors are bound to appear, and that's where things get exciting. Some 1987 D pennies exhibit doubled dies, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment in the die. Others show off center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks that create unusual raised lines on the coin's surface. There are also instances of plating errors, where the thin copper layer either bubbles, peels, or reveals the zinc underneath. Each of these mistakes turns an otherwise ordinary penny into something far rarer and more desirable. Another major factor in the value of the 1987 D Lincoln penny is condition. Collectors grade coins on a scale, with worn examples at the low end and pristine, uncirculated specimens at the top. Coins that have never been spent, showing no wear, are described as mint state. Within mint state, there are further distinctions, ranging from MS60 to MS70, the latter being a perfect coin with no visible flaws even under magnification. Finding a 1987 D penny in circulation with a high mint state grade is nearly impossible today, because most have passed through countless hands and suffered scratches, nicks, and general wear. However, some rolls of uncirculated coins were set aside by collectors or accidentally forgotten in storage. When those coins resurface, they offer a glimpse of what these pennies looked like fresh from the Denver mint presses. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A common worn 1987 D penny might only be worth 1 cent. But if you find one in mint state with full red coloration, meaning the copper luster has not turned brown with age, the price can rise dramatically. Collectors particularly prize red Lincoln cents, since maintaining that brilliant red color over decades is rare. Now, let's talk about the collector's market and why people would pay large sums for what seems like an everyday coin. Collectors are drawn to specific years and mint marks for different reasons. Some want to complete a full Lincoln cent collection, spanning from 1909 all the way to the present day. That means they need every year, every mint mark, and every variety. Even if a coin seems common, high-quality examples may be surprisingly hard to obtain. Furthermore, the grading services that authenticate and rate coins have made it easier to assign value. A 1987 D penny graded by a top service like PCGS or NGC can be worth far more than an ungraded one, because buyers know exactly what condition they're getting. Coins graded MS67 or higher are particularly sought after, because so few exist in that pristine condition. The market for Lincoln cents is one of the strongest areas of U.S. coin collecting. Generations of Americans grew up with these coins in their pockets, and that nostalgic connection fuels interest. On top of that, era coins from the 1980s have become a hot niche, since errors in modern coins often escape the mint's quality control systems. What makes the 1987 D stand out among other dates? In large part, it's the discovery of unusually well-preserved coins and some dramatic minting errors. Collectors have found examples with doubling in the inscriptions, off-center strikes that leave blank areas on the coin, and even transitional strikes where planchets intended for another denomination were mistakenly used. Each of these error types can multiply the coin's value many times over. Let's paint a picture. Imagine going through a jar of pennies you've had sitting around for years. You pull out one with a D mint mark from 1987. At first, you shrug, thinking it's just a penny. But then you notice something strange. The lettering on "In God We Trust" looks slightly doubled, or the rim appears uneven. Maybe the coin shines more brightly than the others, its luster suggesting it hasn't been handled much. Suddenly, you're not just holding a cent, you're holding a potential treasure. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's the possibility that one small coin, overlooked by millions, might be the key to unlocking a story and a substantial payout. We also need to remember the cultural backdrop of 1987. This was the era of Ronald Reagan's presidency, the tail end of the Cold War, and a time when the United States Mint was continuing to adapt to modern coinage challenges. The decision to use copper-plated zinc rather than solid copper had been controversial, and collectors were already debating whether these newer cents would stand the test of time. The 1987 D Lincoln penny is part of that conversation. It represents the continuation of Brenner's classic design but in a new material era. Even though billions were made, the fragile zinc core meant that many coins would deteriorate over the decades. That natural decay has, ironically, made pristine survivors even more valuable. A coin that avoided corrosion, scratches, and environmental damage is far rarer than the mintage numbers suggest. So where does all of this lead us in terms of value? For most people, the 1987 D penny in their pocket change will never be worth more than a cent. But for the lucky few who discover an uncirculated, error-laden, or exceptionally high-grade example, the value can soar to shocking levels. Auction houses have seen collectors bid aggressively for top-graded coins from this year. Stories of ordinary people stumbling upon rare varieties continue to inspire new generations of treasure hunters. Imagine the excitement of sending off a coin for grading, only to learn that it's one of the finest known examples. And that brings us to the ultimate highlight of our story. Among the most spectacular sales recorded for the 1987 D. Lincoln cent, one pristine and rare specimen fetched the astounding price of $23,874. The year was 2007, and in the world of coin collecting, many people overlooked the everyday Lincoln 1-cent penny. To most, it was just a tiny copper-plated coin they carried around in pockets, tossed into jars, or slipped into vending machines without a second thought. But what many did not realize is that some of these very pennies held hidden secrets that could transform a simple cent into a collector's treasure worth thousands. The 2007 Lincoln penny without a mint mark belongs to that fascinating category of modern coins that people often dismiss as ordinary. Yet, when carefully studied and properly understood, it reveals why collectors and numismatists continue to chase it today. This coin tells a story of American history, coin production, design heritage, and of course, the thrill of the hunt for value in the most unexpected places. Let us take a journey into this coin, its background, its features, its errors, its variations, and finally, the astonishing value that can make you rethink every penny you handle. The Lincoln cent has a long history that stretches back to 1909, when it first appeared in celebration of Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. It became the first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person, and Lincoln's face has remained on the penny for more than a century. Over time, the design evolved, but by 2007, the familiar image of Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner still stared back at Americans daily. What makes the 2007 penny particularly intriguing is the absence of a mint mark on certain examples. Normally, U.S. coins are struck at various minting facilities across the country. The Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint are among the most notable. Coins minted in Denver carry a D. Those from San Francisco often carry an S. And those from Philadelphia usually carry no mint mark at all. This tradition is why the 2007 penny without a mint mark draws attention. It signals that the coin was struck in Philadelphia. For collectors, the no mint mark feature is not unusual in itself. After all, Philadelphia coins had long been produced without a distinguishing letter. But the 2007 issue stands out for its quality variations, condition rarities, and the fact that most people overlooked it in circulation. Many were never saved in pristine condition, making high-grade survivors more valuable today. Let's explore the details of the coin. The obverse, or front side, features Abraham Lincoln facing right. His portrait is bold, capturing the strength and dignity of the 16th president. Above his head, the phrase, "In God We Trust," stretches across the rim. To the left side, the word Liberty sits near Lincoln's shoulder, and on the right, the date 2007 appears clearly. The absence of a mint mark beneath the date tells us it was minted in Philadelphia. On the reverse side, we see the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design used since 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. The memorial is depicted with impressive detail, showing even the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside if you look closely. Above the memorial, the words, "United States of America," curve across the top, and below it rests the denomination, 1 cent. The phrase, "E pluribus unum," is displayed just above the memorial. At first glance, this coin looks like any other penny. But collectors know that hidden treasures lie in the details. For example, coins struck with exceptional sharpness, known as full steps, on the memorial, attract strong demand. Likewise, any errors or striking anomalies, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or misaligned dies, can send values soaring. The year 2007 saw millions of pennies produced, so sheer rarity is not the primary reason behind the value. Instead, condition and unique characteristics play a major role. Coins that survive in mint state, meaning they have never been circulated and retain their original luster, are far more desirable. Among these, the highest grades certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC can command premiums well beyond face value. Collectors are particularly fond of coins graded MS67 or higher. At such levels, the coin exhibits nearly flawless surfaces, crisp details, and full eye appeal. Even the slightest scratch or blemish can downgrade a coin, so those few examples that remain pristine stand apart. It is this pursuit of perfection that drives up prices and ignites competition at auctions. Error varieties add another fascinating layer to the 2007 penny. One of the most famous categories in coin collecting is the double die error. When the coin's design is accidentally impressed twice at slightly different angles during the die creation process, it results in a doubled appearance on the struck coins. Imagine seeing Lincoln's date or the inscriptions appear with a shadowy doubling. It instantly makes the coin far more collectible. Other errors include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the blank planchet, leaving part of the coin blank and the rest misaligned. These quirky mistakes, though rare, transform ordinary coins into sought-after oddities. Even small die cracks, chips, or cuds, raised lumps of metal caused by die breaks, can intrigue collectors who specialize in error coins. The allure of the 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny also lies in its role as a bridge between eras. Just 2 years later, in 2009, the United States Mint would release special designs to celebrate Lincoln's 200th birthday, featuring 4 different reverse designs depicting different stages of his life. In 2010, the penny's reverse design changed permanently to the Union Shield design we still use today. This makes the 2007 penny part of the final years of the classic Lincoln Memorial series, giving it historical significance. For everyday people, the idea that a penny in their pocket could be worth more than $1,000 may seem unbelievable. Yet, coin collectors know that scarcity in condition, combined with demand, creates real value. Some of these 2007 no-mint mark pennies have appeared at auctions and coin shows, capturing attention with strong bidding activity. It is important to note that not every 2007 penny will make you rich. The majority are still worth face value or just a little above it, especially if circulated. But the thrill of searching through rolls of coins, inspecting each one for high-grade condition or rare errors, is part of what makes coin collecting such a captivating hobby. Imagine the excitement of discovering that among the hundreds of common pennies lies a gem that could be worth thousands. Collectors who wish to evaluate their 2007 pennies should pay close attention to details. First, examine the coin under good lighting for any doubling on the date or lettering. Second, check the strike quality. Sharp memorial steps, clear details, and original luster increase desirability. Third, consider professional grading if you believe the coin might rank among the highest mint state levels. A certified grade adds credibility and can dramatically boost the coin's market appeal. Another factor influencing value is the eye appeal of the coin. A beautifully toned penny with natural red luster tends to draw higher prices than one that appears dull or spotted. Collectors categorize Lincoln cents by color designations: red, red-brown, and brown. A full red coin, meaning it retains nearly all of its original coppery shine, is the most desirable and often the most valuable. The legacy of the Lincoln penny, spanning more than a century, makes each issue special in its own way. The 2007 no-mint mark penny embodies not just monetary value, but also a slice of American history. It reflects the craftsmanship of the mint, the endurance of Lincoln's memory, and the unexpected treasures hidden in the smallest denominations. For those just beginning in coin collecting, the 2007 penny is an excellent reminder that you do not always need to start with rare gold coins or historic silver dollars. Even the humble penny, when studied with care and curiosity, can open doors to discovery, education, and yes, profit. Many seasoned collectors recall finding their first valuable coin in pocket change. It sparked a lifelong passion. So the next time you come across a 2007 penny without a mint mark, do not dismiss it. Hold it up to the light. Study Lincoln's portrait. Look for the sharpness of the memorial. Consider the condition of the surfaces. You might just be holding a piece that others would pay dearly to OWN.I. In the grand world of coin collecting, every date, every mint, and every variation tells its own story. The 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny may appear common to the untrained eye, but to those who understand its significance, it represents opportunity, history, and hidden wealth. And that brings us to the most exciting detail of all, the potential value of this coin. Some of the finest examples of the 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny have sold for an incredible $8,488.